For my 30th birthday, my parents gave me a used gift card and said, "You're too old to need attention." My brother got a surprise dinner with 40 guests the same week. When I didn't thank them loud enough, Dad said, "We raised someone ungrateful." I smiled, left the gift card untouched, and said, "Then this is the last thing you'll ever give me." By morning, they found out what I meant. My name is Bennett Caldwell. I'm 30 years old. I own 4 express wash and lube locations on the Missouri to Kansas corridor, Sedalia to Warrensburg to Clinton, to a little spot off I-70 outside Concordia. Last year, we cleared $430,000 after payroll. I sleep in a 3-bedroom on Wilson Street that I paid for in cash in 2022. I tell you the numbers because they matter to what comes next. I tell them flat because that's how I think. I'm good at columns and worse at family. My accountant once said I run my books like a man who has been waiting his whole life for somebody to ask him to prove something. She wasn't wrong. I have one brother, Hayes, 2 years older, the one my parents threw the rooftop dinner for that same week, with the 40 guests and the centerpieces and the photographer they hired off Instagram. I'll get to him. I have to get to my parents first, because the part that broke wasn't the card. It was who they had handed it to me on behalf of. Welcome back to Family Secret Tales, where the families that thought they had buried something quietly always find out who was holding the shovel. If a story about a household that runs on a secret nobody is allowed to name feels familiar to you, you're in the right place tonight. Tell me in the comments which state you're listening from, and tap subscribe so the next one lands in your feed. When Hayes turned 21, my parents rented a cabin on Truman Lake for 3 days. 28 guests. A photographer. A bartender they paid in cash. My dad gave a speech about how Hayes had finally become a man. I was 19. I served drinks from behind the kitchen counter because my mom said it would be good for me to feel useful. When I turned 18, my mom slid a Walmart card across the breakfast table with $50 in it. The tape on the back of the card had been peeled and put back. I checked the balance at the register 2 days later. $46. The summer after that, Hayes wrecked my mother's Lexus on the on-ramp to 65. He had been drinking. My dad took 2 phone calls. By Tuesday, a 2017 Lexus sat in the driveway, white this time. Nobody said the word insurance because they hadn't gone through insurance. When Hayes graduated from Mizzou, my dad handed him the keys to the 1998 F-250 we had grown up calling Dad's truck. I had asked about that truck 3 times across high school. Each time my dad had said the same thing: "It is not going to anyone yet." It went to Hayes the morning of his ceremony in front of his roommates. I bought my engagement ring on a payment plan from a jeweler in Independence. The engagement didn't last. The lesson did. The wedding Hayes had at 26 cost $46,000. My dad cried at the toast. My mom showed everyone the seating chart. I was a groomsman because Hayes had run out of friends. After the Walmart card at 18, my mom decided gift cards were her thing for me. 21, a Target card. 25, a Bass Pro card I had to drive 90 minutes to use. 27, a card to a steakhouse that had closed the month before. I checked. I didn't say anything. I drove home, put it in the glove compartment, and threw it away the next time I changed the oil. Hayes got plane tickets. Hayes got a new Apple Watch. Hayes got checks folded into cards. That part I knew. I had counted it for years without making it a column. The thing I had not counted, the thing I would learn later that night above the car wash with the Build-A-Bear card on my desk and a cup of coffee gone cold, was that the gift cards had stopped being lazy. They had started being deliberate. In the spring of 2021, my mom called me on a Sunday afternoon. Hayes needed something to put on his Ursum. He needed structure. I had just opened my 3rd location. I needed someone to count inventory and reconcile fleet diesel charges. My mom said it would help his confidence. She used that word twice. Help his confidence. I hired him. I gave him an email address. I gave him an AMEX corporate card ending in 8842 for office supplies and fuel. I told him to log every charge in the shared spreadsheet. He worked for me for 2 months. He never logged a single charge. In May, he stopped showing up. He told my mom he had a consulting opportunity. He kept the card. I never asked for the card back. I figured he had lost it. I told Teresa, my accountant, to leave family card transactions alone. That's the part that's mine. The visit on my actual birthday was scheduled for 30 minutes. My mom had texted me a week ahead, asked if I could come by between 5 and 5:30 on a Wednesday, said they were busy that weekend with Hayes's thing. I said yes. I pulled into the driveway at 5:04. My dad's truck was there, my mom's Lexus. A black SUV I didn't recognize, parked at an angle in the grass. Inside, the kitchen smelled like meatloaf and air freshener. My mom hugged me without putting her wine glass down. My dad was already at the kitchen table, scrolling on his phone, glasses halfway down his nose. He didn't get up. The black SUV was a rental. Hayes was in town 2 days early for his weekend thing. He came down the stairs while I was still standing in the doorway, said happy birthday in a way that meant he had just remembered, and dropped onto a chair like he owned the room. My mom slid an envelope across the counter, white slightly bent at the corner. It's not much. We figured at 30 you don't need a big production anymore. I opened it at the counter. Standing up. A Build-A-Bear gift card. No greeting card. No note. The plastic sleeve was scuffed. You loved that place when you were little, she said. I was 6. You loved it. I turned the card over. The activation sticker had been scraped off. The balance line had a smudge. I set it back on the counter. Hayes was watching me with his elbow on the table. He smiled the way he smiles when he is about to say something he thinks is clever. Don't be weird about it. It's a gift. My dad looked up from his phone for the first time since I had walked in. Your brother's got 40 people coming Saturday. You could be a little more grateful. Where? I said. What? Where's the dinner? Rooftop place downtown, Hayes said. Mom and Dad booked it. Don't worry about coming. It's a small thing. A small thing for 40 people. My mom put her hand on my arm. Bennett, smile, we did our best. I looked at her. I looked at the card on the counter. I looked at my dad, still half scrolling. I said thank you. I did not say it loud. My dad set down his phone. We raised someone ungrateful. The clock on the microwave read 5:26. I picked up the card. I put it in the chest pocket of my jacket, behind the pen. Then this is the last thing you'll ever give me. My mom laughed. Not a real laugh. The kind women learn to make when something they have said for years finally hits back. I drove home. I didn't go home. I drove to the office above the wash on Highway 65 instead. The office above the wash is small, 1 desk, 1 monitor. A window that looks down on Bay 3. A coffee maker my dad helped me install when I bought the first location, before things got the way they got. I had not used the coffee maker in 2 years. I poured a cup anyway. Then I took the card out of my jacket pocket and laid it on the desk. Our POS system reads any retailer barcode for activation history. It is the same scanner we use to honor competitor coupons and the same one we use to check our own fleet cards for fraud. I held the Build-A-Bear card under the red beam. The screen returned the original purchase data in 2 seconds. Activated, April 14th, 2021. St. Charles, Missouri. Purchased on AMEX Corporate, ending 8842. Original load, $30. 2 redemptions in 2021, totaling $18.57. Remaining balance, $11.43. Card 8842 was the card I had given Hayes. The purchase had been made in St. Charles. Hayes had lived in St. Charles in 2021. I had been in Sedalia. I did not move for a long time. I am not going to tell you how long. I sat in the chair, my hands on the arms, and I watched the screen go to sleep and come back when I touched the mouse. Then I opened the AMEX corporate portal in another tab and pulled the transaction history for card 8842. 4 years. 48 months. I started scrolling. 2 Cabo trips. The deposit on a rooftop venue downtown for the night of June 14. Veterinary bills at a clinic in St. Charles. Furniture from a place in Brentwood. A subscription to a sports book app. A St. Louis steakhouse the same night Hayes had told me he was sick. The screen kept loading. At one point I stopped scrolling and read the running total at the bottom. 43,800 and change. Personal charges. My company card. 4 years. The Build-A-Bear card was the smallest charge on the entire statement, $30 in 2021. The cheapest thing he had ever bought with my money, and he had handed it to me as a gift. I texted Russell Tate at 11:47. Russell and I had played intramural baseball at Central Missouri before he went to law school. He owns a small practice in Lee's Summit. I had used him twice for franchise contracts. The text said 3 words. I need you tonight. He called back at 11:51. I told him what the screen said. I told him about Hayes, the corporate card. The original purchase from April 2021. The 11:43. I read him the running total. He did not say anything for 15 seconds. When he spoke, he said one question. Do you want him fired or do you want him in handcuffs? I told him both. He told me to slow down. He told me the right move was civil first. File a suit for the $43,000. Recover. Then sit on the criminal side for leverage. He said the federal route would change my last name in this town. He said it twice. I told him I wanted the federal complaint filed before sunrise. He stopped talking. I heard his chair move. I heard a refrigerator door. He said okay. I worked for the next 6 hours. I logged into my payroll system at 12:14 and processed Hayes Caldwell's termination, effective immediately. Cause, corporate card misuse. I attached the AMEX statements as supporting documentation. The system generated an automated email to him at 12:16. His company phone, paid by my company, received the notification. He was asleep. At 12:31, I called the AMEX corporate fraud line. The agent's name was Diane. I read her every personal charge on card 8842, going back to 2021. I told her the cardholder no longer had authorization. She froze the card while I was on the phone. The charge for breakfast at a coffee place in St. Charles that would post in 7 hours would be the declined transaction. At 1:42, Russell sent me the draft of the civil complaint. I read it. I added 2 paragraphs about the gift card. The Build-A-Bear card. I wanted it in the record. At 2:55, Russell sent me a draft IRS Form 211. The whistleblower complaint. He had filled in everything except the kickback information. I had not given him that yet. I would have it by morning. At 4:12, he sent the criminal complaint to the Missouri Attorney General's office. Copied to the Pettis County prosecutor. At 4:47, I drafted a letter to the lender on my parents' refinance, addressed to the loan officer who had taken my signature 6 months earlier. I revoked my personal guarantee in 3 sentences. I scheduled the registered mail to go out at 9 a.m. through a service that scans receipts. At 5:18, I made another cup of coffee. At 5:47, I sent Russell a final email confirming everything was filed. At 6:02, the sun came up over Bay 3. At 6:47, the Build-A-Bear card was still on my desk. I had not moved it. I looked at it for a long time. Then I left it where it was and went down to the floor to unlock the wash for the 7 a.m. shift. Hayes pulled into the lot at 8:34 in his white Ford Edge. I watched him from the office window. He sat in the driver's seat for 2 minutes before he got out. I knew what he had just done. He had tried to buy coffee at the place by the highway, and the card had declined. He came in through the bay, not the office door. He waved at Lucas, my Wednesday morning manager, like he was checking on operations. Lucas told him I was upstairs. He took the stairs slow. He came in without knocking. He had a coffee from somewhere else in his hand. He set it on my desk like he had set himself down at my mom's kitchen table the night before. Hey, brother, I didn't get up. There's a problem with the card. I let him stand there. AMEX is saying it's been canceled. Did you switch processors or something? No. Okay, so what? I slid the termination letter across the desk. Single page. The same one the system had emailed him at 12:16 the night before. He had not checked his email. He picked it up. He read the first line. The corner of his mouth moved like he was about to laugh. Then, he read the second line. What is this? Read it. He read it. He turned the page over to see if there was a backside. There wasn't. You're firing me. I already did. Last night, at 12:14. He set the paper down. He picked up the coffee. He took a sip. The cup made a small wet sound on the desk when he put it back. You can't do this. It's already done. Mom is going to lose her mind. Probably you're being petty about a gift card. I looked at him. This isn't about the gift card. What is it about then? I didn't answer. I turned the monitor toward him. The AMEX corporate statement was on the screen. Card 8842. 4 years. Highlighted in yellow on the cells that were his. He looked at the screen. He looked away. He looked back. He sat down without being asked. Bennett, don't. Bennett, I can explain a lot of that. You can explain it to the federal government. I'm not the audience anymore. His face changed. I had been waiting 30 years to see it change like that. It wasn't dramatic. It was quieter than I expected. The skin around his eyes loosened. He looked older for a second. Then he reached for his phone. He called my dad. I let him. I went down to the floor and started the second wash bay. When I came back up at 9:15, Hayes was gone. The termination letter was on my desk. The coffee cup was still there too. The registered letter to the lender went out at 9:04. By 9:30, my dad had called me twice. I didn't answer. By 9:47, he had left a 47-second voicemail. I played the first 8 seconds. Whatever you think you're doing, this is petty. You can't fire your own brother. I stopped it. I did not call him back. This is the midpoint. I'll tell you something I am not proud of. The calm you have heard from me so far was not strength. It was the only way I could stay in the chair without breaking the monitor. By 9:47 that morning, I had not eaten since the meatloaf I refused at my mom's kitchen the night before. My hands were shaking enough that I couldn't hold the coffee cup steady. I sat at that desk and watched my dad's voicemail icon blink, and I knew that if I picked up the phone, I would say something I'd have to take back. So I didn't pick up. That's the part nobody teaches you. Sometimes the loudest thing you can do is the next thing on the list. What came next was 3 weeks of quiet. My dad called 11 times. My mom called 4. Hayes texted twice and then went silent. I went to work. I opened bays. I closed bays. I waited. 3 weeks later, I walked into a country club brunch my parents had booked to celebrate Hayes' new opportunity. What I slid across the linen tablecloth wasn't a threat. It was already done. If this is your first time on Family Secret Tales, this is the place where the household secret finally meets the paper trail. Tap subscribe and stay for the table. The second half is the reason I started writing this at all. Teresa came in for the monthly review on the second Thursday after the birthday. She has been my accountant since I bought the first location in 2019. She is 56, divorced, 2 grown daughters, drives a Subaru Outback older than my brother's car. She does not gossip, and she does not flinch. I had not told her what happened yet. I wanted her to find it on her own. She sat up at the small table in the corner like she always does. She opened her laptop. She pulled up the corporate AMEX statements for the quarter. She scrolled for about 90 seconds. She stopped. She looked up at me over her readers. Card 8842 is canceled. Yes, effective when? 12/14, last Tuesday. She nodded once. She closed the laptop halfway. She put both hands flat on the table. I have been flagging that card for 2 years, she said. I know. You told me to leave family card transactions alone. I know. She didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then she opened the laptop again. You want me to pull the full 4 years? Yes, you want me to find the vendor too. I stopped. What vendor? She turned the laptop toward me. She had a spreadsheet open. A vendor in our accounts payable I had never noticed. HM Operations Consulting. $8,400 a month, every month since March 2022. To a bank in St. Charles. Tax ID registered to a P.O. box in Sedalia. I assumed you knew about that one, she said. I sat down. Tell me the P.O. box number. She told me. I knew the number. It was my dad's. He had used it for his side business when I was in high school. He had told me once when I was 16 that he kept it for sentimental reasons. I called Russell at 2:11 that afternoon. Russell called me back at 4:30 from a coffee shop in Lee's Summit. He had pulled the LLC filing. HM Operations Consulting, LLC, filed March 8, 2022, solely member listed. Wayne Caldwell. My dad's full legal name. P.O. Box, in Sedalia. Hayes had set the vendor up under my dad's name. The bank account was in my dad's name too. The money came into my dad's account. $8,400 a month for 46 months. $386,400. Russell asked me a question over the phone. Do you think your dad knows? I thought about my dad's voicemail, about the way he had said petty, about the way my mom had laughed in the kitchen. I think he knows what he wants to know, I said. Russell said that wasn't going to be good enough for the heirs. He had Teresa pull the bank flow over the next 2 days. The pattern came back clean. $8,400 from my company to HM Operations on the 1st of the month. Within 48 hours, $6,400 would leave HM Operations and go to a personal account in Hayes' name. The remaining $2,000 stayed in my dad's account every month. For nearly 4 years, my parents had been collecting $2,000 a month from a fake vendor on my company's payroll for letting their son use their mailing address. The math was $96,000 in undeclared income to my parents, $294,000 to Hayes through the fake LLC, plus the $43,000 on the AMEX, plus a few smaller things Teresa was still finding. I have a piece of paper from that week in my desk drawer right now. Teresa's handwriting. She wrote 3 lines on it before she went home that Friday. Bennett, you didn't do anything wrong. You hired your brother. They did the rest. Don't carry this on the wrong shoulder. I have read that piece of paper more times than I want to admit. Russell filed the amended IRS, Form 211, with the kickback numbers on a Monday morning. He filed an amended civil complaint that afternoon, naming Wayne and Joyce Caldwell as defendants along with Hayes. The Pettis County Prosecutor's Office called Russell back the same week. They wanted to interview my accountant. I let them. While the paperwork moved, my mom kept calling. She left voicemails. The first ones were angry. By the second week, they had turned into something else. She started saying the word family the way people use it when they wanted to stop a conversation. She told me she had baked. She told me my dad missed me. She told me Hayes had been crying. She didn't say the words I was waiting for. She didn't say what they had done, so I didn't call back. 3 weeks after the birthday visit, the country club invitation came in the mail. Heavy cardstock. Cream, Sedalia Country Club, Sunday at 11. Celebrating Hayes Caldwell on his new opportunity. RSVP requested. My mother's handwriting on the envelope. I RSVP'd yes. I drove out to my 3rd location that Saturday and dropped a pair of work boots in the back of my truck. The same ones I had worn the day I poured concrete for the Concordia Bay. I wanted to wear them clean. The country club brunch started at 11. I got there at 11:17. I had washed the boots in the wash bay the night before. I wore them with jeans and a dark green Carhartt jacket. I did not own a tie. I had brought one in the truck and decided against it in the parking lot. The room was a private dining space at the back of the clubhouse. Big windows. White linen. 8 settings around a long table. Two waiters in vests at the door, one with a water pitcher, one with a coffee pot, already pouring. My parents stood up when I walked in. My mom in a navy blouse with a brooch I had not seen before. My dad in a button-down with sleeves rolled to mid-forearm, the way he wears them when he wants to look like he is working hard. Hayes was sitting at the far end of the table. His wife Megan was next to him. Two of my aunts and an uncle were on the other side. A man I didn't recognize sat at the end with a leather portfolio. I assumed he was the new opportunity. My dad smiled the smile he uses on bank loan officers. "Bennett, you came." I said I would. My mom stepped toward me with her arms half out. I let her hug me from the side. I didn't sit down. I took the folder out from inside my Carhartt and set it on the table in the empty space in front of my dad's plate. It was a craft folder, 22 pages, a yellow post-it on the front. The post-it said one word, "Open." My dad looked at the folder. He looked at me. He looked at my mom. Then he opened it. The first page was a single sheet of paper, 3 lines, 3 case numbers. Russell had laser printed them at his office. The numbers were Ears Form 211 Whistleblower Complaint, accepted, Claim Number 25 WB 44318. Pettis County Civil, Caldwell v. Caldwell et al. Case Number 25 CV 2241. Missouri Attorney General Criminal Referral, Reference Number AG F25091. In process. My dad put on his reading glasses. He read the page slowly. He read it twice. The second time he held it closer. He took the glasses off. He didn't put them back on. My mom leaned over from his elbow to read. She read the first line. Then the second. Her hand went up to her throat. The water glass in front of her was full. Her elbow caught it on the way up. The glass tipped. Water went across the linen tablecloth in a wide, dark stripe and ran off the edge onto her navy skirt. She didn't notice. The waiter at the door stopped pouring. The aunts and the uncle were looking at each other now. The new opportunity man with the leather portfolio was looking at the folder. Hayes stood up. He laughed. It was a short laugh. The kind you do when something has hit you and you are trying to get out from under it. "What is this?" I didn't look at him yet. "You did this," he said. "You did this in front of the whole family." I waited 2 seconds. Then I looked at him. I didn't. The federal government did. You're the one who filed the paperwork. Hayes sat back down. Megan was reading the second page over Hayes' shoulder. She had not said anything yet. I watched her eyes move across the AMEX statement. She got to the line for the Cabo flights. She got to the line for the apartment furniture from Brentwood. She put her napkin on the table next to her plate. She did not pick up her purse. She did not stand up. She just put the napkin down and stopped pretending to be at the brunch. My dad's hands were on the folder. His knuckles were white around the corner. "Bennett, no. Bennett, listen to me." "No." My mom said my name. Her voice was different from any voice I had ever heard her use. It cracked in the middle of the word. "Bennett, please no." I took 2 $20 bills out of my back pocket. I set them next to the water pitcher. "That's for my coffee. I didn't drink any. They poured it anyway. I'm leaving the rest." I looked at the new opportunity man. "Whatever he told you he was going to do for your company, he can't. He won't pass a background check by Friday." The man closed his leather portfolio quietly. I turned to leave. Hayes said one more thing behind me. He said it loud enough that the waiter at the door heard it. "You wouldn't do this to family." I stopped at the door. I didn't turn around all the way. I half turned. "You don't get to use that word anymore." I walked out through the clubhouse. I walked past the pro shop, the front desk, the valet stand. I got in my truck. I drove the 7 miles back to the wash on Highway 65. I didn't shake until I got into the office and closed the door. I sat in the chair with my hands in my lap for 9 minutes. Then I went down and helped the Sunday afternoon shift run the auto detail special. 6 days after the country club, 2 officers from the Pettis County Sheriff's Office walked into Hayes' apartment building at 6 in the morning. Russell had asked the Ag's office not to do it at my parents' house. They honored that. They took him out of his own front door in handcuffs, in a gray t-shirt and sweatpants. A neighbor across the courtyard filmed it on her phone. It was on Facebook by 10. The Sedalia Democrat ran his name on Tuesday in the police blotter. 2 paragraphs. Felony embezzlement, wire fraud, charges pending. They printed his middle name. Hayes Wayne Caldwell. My mother's father had been named Wayne. So had my dad. Hayes had a Missouri contractor's license he had used to bid 2 flips with money my parents had given him. The license board suspended it the day after the news ran. It was permanently revoked 4 months later. My mother was a residential realtor. She had been one for 19 years. The Missouri Real Estate Commission opened a review on the second Monday after Hayes was arrested, based on the named defendant filing. She voluntarily surrendered her license on a Friday because Russell's office told her lawyer that fighting it would extend the criminal exposure. Her listings were transferred to 2 other agents at her brokerage within the week. My dad got the audit notice in the mail on the 3rd Monday. The Ayers field office in Kansas City assigned it. They went back 6 years. The $2,000 a month from HM Operations Consulting was the start of it. They found other things. They found 19 months of cash deposits that didn't match his reported income from his welding business in the early 2000s. A federal tax lien was filed against the house on a Wednesday. The amount was $86,000. Below that there was a separate state lien for $41,000. My parents tried to refinance the house in May to pull cash out. The lender came back with a rate 2.5 points higher than the original quote because my personal guarantee had been revoked. The lien killed the refinance entirely. Hayes pled out in June. Russell negotiated the civil and the criminal together. Hayes pled to 1 count of wire fraud and 1 count of tax evasion. Federal. 14 months at Yankton Federal Prison Camp in South Dakota. Restitution ordered. $236,000 to my company, plus heirs penalties and interest on his own filings. My parents settled the civil side rather than face their own indictment. They paid me $189,000. They signed an agreement that they would not contact me unless I initiated contact. The agreement is in a file on Russell's server. I have not opened it in 8 months. The ERS Whistleblower Award came in October, $47,300. The check went into the account I had opened specifically for the 5th location. Megan filed for divorce 3 weeks after the country club brunch. She kept the apartment because my company had been paying the lease, and Russell signed it over to her in the settlement. She kept the dog. She kept a small leather club chair Hayes had brought into the marriage that had been their first big argument. She told Russell once, when she came to sign papers, that the part she could not get past was that Hayes had let his parents collect kickbacks for using their mailing address while he was telling her they couldn't afford a second baby. She told Russell to tell me thank you. I didn't tell him to tell her anything back. I sent her a Christmas card the December after the divorce. I signed it with my first name only. The country club dropped my parents' membership in August. The membership had been paid by my company since 2019. Teresa cut the standing charge the week after the brunch. The day Hayes reported to Yankton was a Tuesday. I was at the Warrensburg site that morning, walking the contractor through the canopy structure for the new bay. I didn't know it was the day until Russell texted me. The text said 3 letters. RPT, he had reported. I read the text. I put the phone in my back pocket. I asked the contractor a question about the soil grade. That was the day I knew I was past it. The 5th location opened the first Saturday of February in Warrensburg, 11 months after my 30th birthday. The civil settlement and the ERS award together paid for the canopy, the new pump system, and the down payment on the lot. Teresa did the books on a yellow legal pad before she did them on the computer. She likes to see the numbers in her own hand first. The ribbon cutting was on a Saturday morning at 9. The Warrensburg city manager came. 2 reporters from the regional paper came. A man from the Missouri Small Business Association came. I wore the same Carhartt I had worn to the country club. My friend from Mizzou, who runs the franchise consulting side of my supplier, flew in from Tulsa. He brought his son. I let the city manager cut the ribbon. He had asked. I didn't need to be in the photo. We washed 46 cars that first day. I went home at 8. I made a sandwich. I sat on the porch. Hayes came up for early release review in June. Russell forwarded me the notice. I did not file an opposition. I did not file a support letter either. The review happened without me. He stayed in. My parents sold the house on Wilson Street in March. They moved to a 2-bedroom rental in Clinton, 40 miles south. My mom got a job at a realtor's office answering phones. She is not licensed anymore. My dad picked up part-time welding for a fabrication shop that does fence panels for state highway projects. He is 64. I drive past their old house twice a month on the way to the Concordia location. New owners painted the front door dark blue. The dogwood my mom planted the year I was born is still there. I don't slow down. The family group chat has 1,247 unread messages. I have read 3. The first one I read was the day my mom told everyone Hayes had been moved to a different unit. The second one was when she asked the cousins to send Hayes letters. The third was when my Aunt Carla asked everyone to pray for Hayes's lungs because he had picked up a cold at Yankton. After that one, I muted the chat. I have not blocked anyone. I have not deleted anyone's number. The phone just sits in my desk drawer when I am at the wash. The drawer is the same drawer where I keep the Build-A-Bear card. Hayes was released from Yankton on a Friday in late January, 14 months and 4 days after he reported. He went to a halfway house in North St. Louis. He stayed there 90 days. He took a job detailing cars at a chain on Halls Ferry Road for 2 months. The chain is one of my competitors. I knew because the regional manager called me. He had recognized the last name. I told him to do whatever was right for his business. On a Saturday morning in late August, 20 months after my 30th birthday, a man in worn jeans and a faded gray hoodie walked into the Warrensburg location. He waited in the office line behind 2 customers. He didn't look up. When he got to the counter, I didn't recognize him for 2 seconds. He had lost 40 pounds. His hair was cut short, and his beard was gone. Then I did. He had practiced what he was going to say. I could tell because he said it without looking at me. I heard you're hiring detailers. I came down on the bus. I looked at him. He looked at the register. I opened the cash drawer. The Build-A-Bear card had been in the back of the drawer for 19 months. I had moved it once when we rebuilt the till tray. Otherwise, it had sat there. I took it out. I set it on the counter. I slid it across with 2 fingers. $11.43. Hayes looked at it. He looked up at me for the first time. We're not hiring family, I said. I went into the office. I closed the door. Through the glass, I watched him stand at the counter for a long time. He picked up the card. He turned it over. He put it in his pocket. He walked out. I sat down at the desk. I opened the laptop. I started the morning reconciliation. The drawer where the card used to be was empty for the first time in 19 months. I closed it. If you stayed with me to the end of this one, the comments are for you. Tell me about a moment in your own family when the smallest gift was actually the loudest thing anyone ever said to you. I read them. I don't reply to all of them. I read them. If this is the kind of quiet you come here for, the next one is ready. The bell ringer at the top of your screen will let you know when it goes up. Until then, the wash on Highway 65 is open 7 to 7, and the drawer behind the register is empty.